The standout moments were probably the event weekends.
Oh, I think we had one of the first sci-fi weekends when I was here.
Buzz Aldrin came to the Space Centre.
The Queen and Prince Philip.
I think for me it was the astronaut visits, particularly Helen Sharman when she came.
One of the ones that was very important to me personally is the few times that the National Space Academy invited Helen Sharman.
From working at the Space Centre, the standout moments were probably the event weekends, because I remember there was real excitement before the event weekends, preparing for them, and then obviously the Space Centre was very, very busy on those weekends. You've got a lot of people dressing up. I think particular highlights for me were probably the Star Wars weekend. I'm a big Star Wars fan myself, so getting to see everyone dressed up in costumes was pretty cool, and to be in that atmosphere. And then of course getting some of the Star Wars actors in, the Space Centre getting some of the Star Wars actors in was great as well. I got to meet Warwick Davis, and yeah, as a big Star Wars fan, that was quite a big moment.
Oh, I think we had one of the first sci-fi weekends when I was here, and I got to meet Warwick Davis and his family, and we had like an alien encounter in one of the buildings, and we got to walk around and aliens just scared us to death. It was so funny and it was so much fun. And of course, meeting Buzz Aldrin, that happened literally my first week starting here, and it's meeting space royalty, isn't it? So that was fantastic, and one of those things you'll never forget.
The encounter that I talk about the most, in terms of name dropping, is when Buzz Aldrin came to the Space Centre. And this was, I guess, almost 20 years ago. And he was talking about how we'd been to the moon in the late 60s and early 70s, and how we'd withdrawn from space in a certain way, and it was imperative for us to get back out there and to deliver on the promise of Apollo. And at the time, it seemed like there was no way we were going to do that anytime soon. At the moment, it's very exciting that NASA has once upon set its sights on the moon, and it looks like by the end of this decade, we'll go back.
It was a really exciting time because the Space Centre had just opened. It was a new thing, and there were lots of events, lots of visitors coming for the first time. We had a lot of VIPs coming to visit. Probably the kind of most memorable visit was from the Queen and Prince Philip when they came for their Golden Jubilee celebration. And I was one of the members of Space Crew on that visit. That was super exciting.
I think for me it was the astronaut visits, particularly Helen Sharman when she came. Obviously at the time I had aspirations of going into the space industry, and so that was the pinnacle for me, to meet somebody who's actually been in space, and particularly being female and being British.
One of the ones that was very important to me personally is the few times that the National Space Academy invited Helen Sharman to come and speak at our events, so including our careers events. So she went to space in 1991, so that she was an inspiration to me. I have learnt more about her since, and I have had the chance to have conversations with her, and she's still an inspiration to me. What she has gone on to do even after her experience as an astronaut is fantastic, and she still supports engaging young people, and particularly girls, with science. I really enjoyed as well, we had an anniversary celebration for the National Space Academy in 2018. It was the 10-year anniversary of the Academy being set up. And we were able to invite people who had been involved with the National Space Academy previously to come along and celebrate with us. There was cake, which is always important. And we also had some student alumni who'd been involved in different National Space Academy programs come back and tell us about what they were up to. And I think that was really exciting, because sometimes, especially when you're working with young people, you see them for whatever your interaction is, and then you're on to the next project. So actually having them come back and talk about what they've gone on to is really validating. It makes you realise that you actually have maybe made an impact.